18, verse 16 says, a man's gift maketh room for him, and bringeth him before great men. A man's gift. Somebody say gift. Maketh room for him, and bringeth him before great men. I believe that I'm leading a gifted people that God is getting ready to make room for. Why do I believe that I'm leading a gifted people? Because I'm gifted. And that leads me to believe, because I know I'm gifted, that the people I'm leading are gifted. And because we are a group of gifted people, God is getting ready to make room for our gifts. And God is getting ready to bring us before great men. I believe that my children are great. I believe that my children are gifted. I believe that they're gifted because I'm gifted. And if I'm gifted, I have to believe that you all are gifted. Because why would God put me over people being gifted and not allow them to be gifted? God is getting ready to open doors for us to walk through. Our name is getting ready to be mentioned among people who never heard our name before. We're at the table. Some of you might be wondering why the table is still here from last week. The reason why the table is here because it signified that our time is at hand. Our time is at hand. Our time is at hand. God is preparing us to walk through doors. There are billion-dollar gifts that are sitting right here in this building. It's not based on your last name, your level of education, but God has gifted you. And your gift is getting ready to make room for you and to bring you before great men. Being in the room with great men can lead you to someone who can change your life. Amen. But we have to learn to discern when we're in the midst of greatness. We have to learn how to discern divine connection. Somebody say divine connection. Divine connection. We have to learn how to discern when we're in the midst of great individuals. We have to learn how to discern when we're in the midst of great individuals. Turn to Proverbs 23. Proverbs 23. Because when we talked on last week, we talked about the table being a place of provision, being a place of abundance. And when God is taking us through these doors, when God is bringing us in the midst of these great men who have the ability to change our life. Amen. Essentially, we saw how one word from King David brought Mephibosheth out of a low place. Amen. A place of bondage. Amen. And brought him to a place to where he sat at the king's table continually. Amen. And so as God is bringing us into a place, and as God has gifted us, and our gifts are making room for us. Yes, Lord. Amen. Proverbs verse 23 verse 1 says, when thou sittest to eat with a ruler, somebody say ruler. Consider diligently what is before thee. Come on now. Understand when God begins to open doors for us, when our gifts, the gifts that God has given us, begin to make room for us. Amen. We have to begin to consider diligently what is before us. Amen. Because when we sit at the table with the ruler, essentially one word from this person has the ability to change our life. Amen. Amen. One divine connection with the right individual has the ability to change our life. Many of us have, it's safe to say, have been waiting a lifetime. Amen. For God to bring us to a place to where our gift has made room for us. It says when thou sittest to eat. So that means when you're sitting to eat, that means you have been brought where? To the table. Amen. And now that we have been brought to the table, we have to make sure that we diligently consider what's before us. He says, consider diligently what is before you. Verse 2 says, he says, and put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite. So now, what the Bible is saying is now, we have arrived. We are at the table now. Our gift has made room for us, but let's consider diligently the ruler. Let's consider diligently the opportunity that have been afforded to us by our gift. Amen. That we not be a man that be overtaken with what? Appetite. Not that we begin to close doors that our gift have opened and made room for us. God is bringing us to a place where we're sitting at the table. And many of times we're in a room or we're introduced with great people, but we have not acknowledged that our gift has made room for us. And when we discern a divine connection, or when we discern we're in the room or the table of a ruler, then we have to check our appetite. Sometimes we're in the midst of greatness, and that's not to say that we aren't great. But when you're in the midst of somebody that's greater than you are, sometimes we spend more time talking than we do listening. And so when we're at the table, amen, we can't be given to appetite. It says, be not desirous of his dainties. Amen. For they are deceitful meat. Labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an angel towards heaven. He says, eat not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire his dainty meats. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Amen. Eat and drink, said he to thee. But his heart is what? Not with thee. Amen. The morsel which thou hast eaten, thou shalt vomit up. And thou vomit up, and lose thy sweet words. Speak not in the ears, what? Of a fool. Amen. For he will despise the wisdom, what? Of thy words. Amen. So essentially every setting. Why? Because we are in the setting of what? A ruler. Amen. It does not say that the ruler is what? A man of God. It just says that what? He is what? A ruler. Come on. Take your time. Amen. This is the type of thing that got John the Baptist beheaded. Amen. Because he went what? And speaking. It says, do not speak in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom what? Of your words. And so when John the Baptist went to speak his wisdom, his words was what? Despised. Amen. And it caused him to be what? Tossed in prison, and then eventually what? Beheaded. Amen. Amen. So now we're at the table. Look to your neighbor and say, we're at the table. We're at the table. Amen. But now that we're at the table, even if we haven't eaten, we have to behave ourselves as if we've eaten before. Amen. My God. Amen. Now that we have arrived, we have to act like we've been here before. Amen. Amen. Why? Because the enemy seeks to take advantage of our appetite. Now, what determines our appetite? Our appetite is determined by where we come from. Why? Because we saw that last week that Mephibosheth was coming from what? A low place. And because he was coming from a low place, he could have easily been a man that was given what? To appetite. Amen. Why? Because of where he was coming from. That's just like when Jesus was in the wilderness fasting 40 days and 40 nights. Immediately when he came out of the wilderness, he was tempted of who? The devil. Amen. And the devil was trying to capitalize off of what? His appetite. Because he knew what? Where he was coming from. So now we have to be mindful when God is moving us from one place to another. We don't allow the enemy to capitalize off of our appetite. That's good. That's good. Amen. Because the enemy knew Jesus hungered. And this is when he began to tempt him because he was coming what? From a low place. Amen. Now our gift is making room for us. We are well. We are at the table now. God is getting ready to pour out of his blessings upon a gifted people. Amen. You are speaking good, sir. Not because of your education, but listen, there are many of you sitting right here that God is going to bless you in this new year like you've never seen before. You are gifted, and people have to make sure that when we get to the table, we have table manners. We have to know how to govern ourselves when we get to the table. We can't let our gift make room for us and bring us in the room before great men. Look to your neighbor and say, I'm in the room.
I'm in the room.
When we get in the room,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we can't be men given with appetite. And when I say men, we know I'm speaking not generally, but people of God.
Yes.
Men and women of God.
Amen. Amen.
Why? Because we are gifted. You are gifted.
Amen.
And men are going to be able to begin to seek after your gift.
After your gift.
Amen. When Joseph was thrown into prison after being in Potiphar's house, and Potiphar's wife lied on him and he was thrown in prison, and there came a need of, amen, Pharaoh to have his dreams interpreted.
Amen.
Amen. And Pharaoh's dreams needed to be interpreted. Joseph's name, even though being in prison, Joseph's name began to come up in a conversation. And it got to the point to where Pharaoh sent for Joseph to have him to be brought to him. And here we see that Joseph's gift of being able to interpret dreams is what brought him into the room with Pharaoh.
Yes.
And it allowed him to essentially interpret Pharaoh's dream, which led him to being ruler over Egypt.
Yes.
Amen. But he came what? Out of prison. He came what? From a low place. But he did not allow what? His appetite. Amen. Even though Potiphar's wife what? Lied on him. But what? She had her eyes on Joseph. She wanted to what? Lay with Joseph. But Joseph what? Would not do it.
Amen. That's it. You went do it.
Essentially, why? Because he did not allow himself to be overtaken with an appetite.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Go with me to the book of Daniel.
Glory to God.
Daniel chapter 1. Our gift.
Yeah.
Do you believe that you're gifted?
Amen.
Do you believe that you're gifted?
Amen.
I believe
Yes.
that I'm leading a gifted people.
Amen.
Why? Because I'm gifted.
Amen.
Let's look at Daniel chapter 1. Daniel chapter 1. Our gift will bring us into the room with great men. And these great men will essentially bring us into the midst of rulers. Amen. See, there's a difference between what? Great men and rulers. Because we can be in the midst of great men who may not be what? Rulers. But when we get in the room with what? Great men, then we eventually are introduced to who? Rulers.
Amen.
Daniel chapter 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah,
Yes.
came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels, the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of God, his God. And he brought the vessels unto the treasure house. And the king spake unto Athanaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science. A few months ago came what? There's a science to this thing. And such had the ability in them to stand what? in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning of and the tongue of the Chaldeans. Now, essentially, these children were what? Gifted. And now their gifts had brought them to a place where they were able to do what? Stand in the king's palace. Now, verse 5 says, and the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat. Somebody say king's meat. And the wine of which he drank. So nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Somebody say, I'm getting ready to stand before somebody great.
I'm getting ready to stand before somebody.
Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name of Belshazzar, Hananiah, Shadrach, and to Mishael, Meshach, and Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself.
Yes.
Now God had brought Daniel into favor. Somebody shout favor. And kept the law with the prince of the eunuchs. Amen. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed you meat and your drink. For why should he see your face worse, likened in the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy service. I beseech thee 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenance be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat the portion of the king's meat, as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he considered to them in this matter, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. And Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them the pulse. As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all what? Learning and wisdom.
Yes.
And Daniel had understanding in all visions, in all dreams.
Yes.
Now we see that Daniel denied the king's portion and held fast what? To his own portion.
Amen.
Amen. So now when we are at the tables, what? With rulers. When we come to the table, amen, we must govern ourselves in a way that we still be partakers of what the ruler is trying to give us access to, but not defiling ourselves by taking the king's meat. Amen. Because God is getting, even our children,
amen,
there are some things that our children are getting ready to partake of from the world, but they will be able to partake of it without partaking of the king's meat and defiling themselves.
Amen.
Yes, we are in this world, but we are not of this world. But this world owes us some things. And there are some doors that are getting ready to be opened for the people of God. And so now that we are at the table, look to your neighbor and say, we are at the table. We are at the table.
Yes. My God, my God.
Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them. And among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. And in all the matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and the astrologers that were in all his realm. And Daniel continued even unto the first year. Listen, your gift, the way your gift is going to make room for you, because when people begin to see God, your gift, your children's gift, is going to stand out 10 times more than anybody in your realm. Anybody in your realm. But we got to hold fast. We got to be able to discern when we're in the midst of great men. See, we can't be surprised when we find ourselves in the midst of great men. Why? Because it's our gift. The gift of God that gave us is what made room for us to be there. Man of God, don't be surprised when you find yourself in the room with great men. Amen. When your name begins to come up in the midst of great people, people that have never even heard of you before. Amen. Why? Because it's your gift that what? Has made room for you.
Bless God, I receive.
Amen. Your children, when the gifts that God has placed in your children begin to make room for them, don't be surprised when they are in the midst of great men. The time is at hand. When you discern a divine connection, that's your gift have made what? Room for you. This person has now have the ability, when the word went out, if there was any left what? Of the house of Saul, there was a divine connection there that would essentially change Mephibosheth's life forever. Amen. When you discern a divine connection, that means there is an opportunity for God to change your life forever. Amen. Amen. But we have to prepare ourselves to sit at the table. And in order to do that, we have to behave ourselves, amen, like what? We're at the table with somebody. Amen. Yes. We have to behave ourselves like we're in the room, what? With somebody great. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Yes.
Amen. Amen.
Are you ready?
Amen.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Amen.
Are you ready?
Amen.
Are you ready?
Amen.
I don't know about you, but I'm ready.
Amen.
Amen.
The way you conduct yourself in the midst of greatness could essentially determine the rest of your life.
My God, my God, my God.
Sometimes when it comes to opportunities like I'm speaking of, you only get one shot. One shot. Everything in your life leading up to one moment. A few months ago, I was talking about allowing God to rewrite our soundtrack.
Yes.
Amen.
Why? Because every season of our life has a soundtrack. And if we don't allow God to rewrite our soundtrack, we take that old song from an old season and bring it over into what? A brand new season. When it's time for us to sit at the tables with rulers and we're still allowing that old soundtrack to play in our head, then what? We are not going to conduct ourselves properly at the table. And then we squander what? Of a lifetime. Because we're not willing to let go. In order for Mephibosheth to sit at the table, he had to let go of that low season of his life. He had to let go of that soundtrack of Lodabar. But he had to allow God to rewrite a new soundtrack in his life. To sit at the table with rulers, to be in the room with great men, we are going to have to detach from some of the things that we have become accustomed to. We are going to have to retrain and retrain ourselves to think like the people where God is taking us. We can't go across the Jordan and we are continually thinking about the wilderness. Can't go into the promised land and we're continually allowing the soundtrack of the wilderness to play in our heads. When God presents an opportunity to us, we got to be ready. We got to be equipped. We have to be ready. Because when you're being called, you're being called according to your gifting. When you're being sought after, you're being sought after what? For your gift. It doesn't make sense for God to open doors for us, to present opportunities for us, if we have not conditioned ourselves to be ready to walk through those doors. If we have not positioned ourselves to walk in the blessings that God has for us. I don't know about you, but I'm ready. I'm ready to walk through the doors that God has opened for me. And notice I didn't say that it's opening, are already open. Their doors are already open for you.
Amen.
All you got to be is ready to walk through them.
Yes.
You're a gifted people. And your gift is making room for you. Are you ready to receive your blessing? Rest on your feet.